Thank you very much for your patience, folks. Welcome back to the Elite Tour EU Qualifier 2. TLDR, technical issues are awful. Good news, you're not going to miss a single second of the action. We're actually going to be jumping right back into where we left off in game number 1. Outer Banks versus Alberona said. Kanashi, it's been a pretty close game up until this point. We actually left off just after here, where the Regieleki been stolen away by Alberona said. A rip gone wrong for Outer Banks. We're going to see this Lucario dunk in the 24. Going to be a bit of a team fight. Eldegoss going to pop the Unite move here. Alberona said going to retreat, but we still got that Roulette Reggie on bottom path up for the taking.
Exactly. If they want to go ahead and rotate down to bottom, they definitely can, but they were, for the most part, trying to get whatever they could. They stole it with the double beam team, and we have to see how well they are going to continue on with that momentum, playing the range game, and if they can keep the range game going.
Absolutely. Great Rock Tomb.
Oh my god.
Little did they know what they had captured, and the Electro Ball not exactly going to do as much damage as they would have liked there. But time running out, only a minute and a half until the Rayquaza says hello. Another good catch there on the Trevenant. And Outer Banks have kind of let Alberona get away with positioning on this one. Still the Luca in the central area, but it's up for grabs.
Yeah, you see the Rubble Rouser pushing away the Buzzwole up at top lane, but that's not going to stop the Buzzwole from dunking the rest of your team. They're going to go ahead and grab 2 of them at the moment, and now it's just going to leave a couple of them up at the moment. And they are going to go ahead and take out the Luca as well, and the Crustle just trying to maybe get a sneaky steal here. Not going to happen. Blissey actually going to get that last hit, so going to go ahead and lock that up for Outer Banks. Even though they couldn't secure the top Reggie, they are going to be able to secure the bottom Reggie.
It's the second time that they've been caught out, really, by spending a little too much time looking for those wild Pokemon to get a little bit more XP into the global pool. But for the second time, it's not really affected them truly. You look at the level situation, they actually go into Rayquaza with a bit of an advantage, but before that, another Regieleki has spawned, and once again, Outer Banks are going for it. I don't think there's going to be a steal this time around. You don't want to waste that Aura Cannon if you're Luca on the scene. Deep in enemy territory, has to get out of there, does so, and there's no time to defend away that Regieleki because quite simply Kanashi the Ray takes full priority.
Yeah, they might just leave one person up here to possibly defend it. Wait until, you know, the goals aren't vulnerable, and then go ahead and take this engagement. But once again, levels are really close. Score is actually pretty close this game as well, so it could be anyone's game. Both of them are just trying to look for something to do here.
That Luca has got the 100. They take the lead, Alberona, and they're trying to sweep and swerve their way through a Buzzwole and a Glaceon while we're keeping an eye on this main battle. Keep an eye on the mini-map as well. Here comes Luca entering top of your screens. That is dunk mission success, but now they're all grouped up, and that's going to be good news for the Trevenant, or is it? Hornleech, Verdant Anger goes in. We've got ourselves a Super Swole Slam in there too. Going up towards the Blissey is the Bliss Assistance, and the Luca goes down to the Glaceon. Here's a Super Swole Slam in full now. Eldegoss, I think, popped their Unite move in there as well. Lots of shielding for the Crustle. Finally takes down the tree. Look at Sylveon, look at Blissey, look at Glaceon, look at Buzzwole. All still incredibly strong. They have Alberona right where they want them, but the Buzzwole's bitten off more than they can chew.
Yeah, gonna get caught out here as well, and you start seeing the Rock Tomb trying to lock more players in place. Alberona now looking at the Ray to possibly take it away from here, but it's only down to half HP. Couple members of Outer Banks, maybe the ones without a little bit of the damage, but might be able to sneak one out here.
Wow.
But it's not gonna happen. Alberona said it has enough pressure, forces Outer Banks to force the GG, and it's well played by Alberona.
Outer Banks left out of options. That was a table flip Ray fight, if ever I have seen one. To have all 4 remaining Alberona players caught within a rock tomb of their own making, you would have thought, oh gosh, we're in trouble here if you're Alberona. And yet, Urius, who does pick up the MVP for the team, was incredibly influential in every single fight that we saw them in. Goes a little too deep. Without that Unite move, there is no escape trajectory. They are all on their own. The Bliss assistants have been used as well. So actually, when you look at the wider perspective, Alberona burning those opposition Unite moves very nicely, very neatly, so that they have that bounce back ability when it matters most.
Yeah, like essentially forcing and playing off of the impatience of Outer Banks. They wanted to get the fight over with. They thought, oh, Luca's out of the way, we can possibly take the fight. What Alberona said is like, go ahead, use them now. We're gonna wait for the to execute then. So we're taking a peek into draft. We're hopping straight in. Outer Banks taking game number 1, or actually no, Alberona said taking game number 1, as they take that last fight really well.
Leafeon, Crustle, Glaceon, Blastoise off the table alongside the blanket bands of the EX Mons. Krinsky and crew looking pretty sweet, but Alberona, they're feeling pretty good about their chances. Alberona? No, Outer Banks. My apologies. Outer Banks still feeling good about the Crustle pickup. They're bustling about with all these choices on the table. Alberona going with their front line first and foremost. Once again, we see that Umbreon selected. Once again, we see that Eldegoss selected. Nerfed, but it doesn't look like it much.
Yeah, just being able to keep the team topped off, you know, still deal quite a bit of damage as well. It's just really well played by the Eldegoss. So that is going to be their support of choice. The Trevenant and the Espeon going to go ahead and be the next 2 picks for Outer Banks. Overall, I think that a lot of people are saying, oh, Buzzwole's completely nerfed. But this is just proving that, if anything, it's still really powerful in the right hands.
It was very much player error more than Buzzwole's bad, which led to the situation that we saw unfold. And it's a situation that Alberona would quite like, again, locking in that Mew, locking in the Batu Lucario, who was fantastic, by the way. Excellent backcap opportunity, and then they were allowed to get away with it as well. A Glaceon and a Buzzwole surrounding them, and still able to find the right route out of there. Outer Banks, though, switching it up, as I imagine they were expected to by this point. Out go the Glaceon. In comes the Inteleon. We've got a Hooper backing them up as well. Going to really help with rotation in general. Though, to be fair, I don't think the Outer Banks had too much trouble with that. I think what it will give them is that free reset back to base. Certainly much more opportunity to heal the entire team as opposed to Blissey. That's something which I think this Gardevoir pick is very much aimed towards stopping. Of course, we know all about Fairy Singularity.
Yeah, it's very powerful, very late game oriented as well, though. I do think that the way how both these teams have structured it out are really balanced overall. You have a little bit of an early game push if you wanted to apply a little bit of pressure early. You have your late game ranged carry, and it's now just going to come down to how well you could execute down the line. I like the 6th man Eevee Inteleon pick. I think that that's going to help later on, especially if they happen to get those last hits on some of those squishier backline Pokemon. I think it's going to help them out quite a bit. But Alberona, once again, picking out some of these Pokemon that aren't necessarily what we would consider meta, but it is something that really does lend themselves to the composition that they have constructed here.
Well, look, what are the biggest criticisms about both NA and EU on the international stage? They don't draft properly, and their micro kind of sucks in the grand scheme of things. When we're looking at it, we're like, whoa, these guys are amazing. But in general, they have struggled. They have been a little bit behind the times. And so to see players a little more open to selecting the likes of a Lucario, for example, as a specialty pick. Or, I mean, that Gardevoir is exactly what I want to see from a draft Ganache. You've got a Hooper, it's picked as one of the last things, so as your flex, your final choice in draft, you got a wide range of options. Go for something that's going to make a difference, not something that you're necessarily fully comfortable with.
Exactly. You want something that has impact. And also, because if you pick something that teams aren't used to seeing, you have, once again, that surprise factor. A lot of teams might not remember how to play into a Gardevoir, or how to slow it up, or what are the counter plays that you have to do in positioning wise. So being able to throw off a team, especially like Outer Banks, who was doing excellent work with his Buzzwole, it's going to be able to help them out quite a bit if they happen to get their levels early.
Well, no split central area means that the Curly is a little late going up onto the top path, means that Outer Banks gets away with a couple of stacks here and there, although Alberona on this bottom path once again finding a lot of joy. This Curly is super useful for this first set of clouds. They're dropping in now, and there goes those circular blasts, steal away a lot of it. Still no Evo for Albanoa on the Gossifleur, however. Want to really get onto that Elder Goss sooner rather than later. This is my worry for the Gardevoir late game Kanashi, is there isn't too much of a front line to speak of. It is there, but it's not the most tanky option. Great eject from the Lucario, not even utilizing the item, just the moveset.
Yeah, just being able to disengage from that fight was exactly what they needed. Just skin of their teeth, just being able to leave. Oh no, the Espeon didn't quite make it back home. So unfortunately, Outer Banks is going to go ahead and lose out on that Espeon, but Alberona said just trying to keep the pace and keep the tempo that they had in that last match.
Not looking too good for Outer Banks here as the number one faves. I do understand there's a couple of roster changes here and there, but even still, the name does bring with it a certain amount of prestige. Albanoa, however, or Alberona, I should say, looking a lot better, and this Hooper is getting bullied to Kingdom Come, 34 to 37 points on the board, made that 39 to 37. Close margins here in the opening stages. Still looking for the stacks, looking for the KO. Still not going to find it. Punch in the back of the spine. The Buzzwole goes down again.
Yeah, not going to be able to take the hyperspace hole back either. Just taken out right before then, and Alberona wants more. They're going to go ahead and dive in once again, looking at the Hoopa to go ahead and prevent any of this rotation from going through, but they are going to go ahead and drop that there. Going to go ahead and dunk the Lucario, saying, okay, you try to dunk on our goal. We're going to dunk your Pokemon instead. Really well done by the Buzzwole. Finally gets the KO on the Lucario that they've been looking for a solid 3 minutes. Split path, not for too much longer as Outer Banks looks to prioritize this bottom path. I imagine they'll leave the Buzzwole up there indeed to contest alongside the Lucario. Very nice snipe shot hit onto Krinsky. The shield is up, the boosted auto goes out, well shielded by the Trevenant, Atrax on hand. Got ourselves a couple of heals down, but the Umbreon's caught on field, a Wish Umbreon, no less as well, so watch out for the stacks later on. That healing factor can be mighty! Not as mighty as their teammate in the Mew, however. We saw a missed Solar Beam last game. The Electro Ball does the job this time around. Regice go the way of Alberona said. Yeah, trying to go ahead and secure this down, and now Alberona trying to break this front goal with as much as possible. You see them doing the math, and I'm not good at that. And just a big overcap right there, making sure that the 40 dunk going to be the last one, so 39 overcap. The most important thing that we know about this is that they want to break it so that the Hoopa cannot rotate as quickly as possible, but getting an overdunk is also pretty helpful, especially in a game where points matter. Those points are continuing to build for Alberona. Another KO for the Buzzwole onto the Lucario. Okay, try KOing some other Pokemon on the battlefield now, Mr. Buzzwole. Going after the Swablu, I guess it's an easy target. I guess it's good for the EXP situation. And the EXP situation, which once again, Outer Banks find themselves falling behind in. That level 10 Gardevoir looking scary. Level 9s across the rest of the team for Alberona. That level 10 now only just achieved by the Buzzwole. The fight over the Regieleki intensifies. Yeah, we start seeing a lot of both teams starting to rotate up here at top, but now it's a matter of who's going to execute. It looks like Outer Banks wants to get aggressive, wants to get a couple more of these levels going their way. The Trevenant sneakily in here, trying to go ahead and steal up one of the Pokemon, but Mystical Mirage going to go ahead and get popped up here, and you start seeing everything being thrown as we start seeing Fairy Singularity trying to zone out a couple more Pokemon. There is the Buzzwole saying we're going to dive in on the back line if we can, but Alberona said taking the first punch, grabbing 2 of them, and now the Buzzwole trying to look for another one. Can they get out? No, not in time, as the hyperspace hold not going to be able to send them back home. And now they're just scrambling, playing some defense here, as Outer Banks trying to go ahead and hold it down here, as Alberona said is still continuing on with their attack.
It's sunshine and roses for Alberona, or is it? The Hooper Unbound and the Inteleon finding the Luca, Super Swole Slam, catching out the Mew as well. Nice repulse here from Outer Banks. They're not going to have the opportunity to score, not with that Gardevoir on Warden duty. They go for the rip. Dangerous considering how many are on the way for Alberona. Surely had vision on this. Quick reset through the hyperspace portal, looking for that steal through the Luca, and they're not going to get it. No, indeed, it's the Espeon instead, with the Psyshock making the difference.
Yeah, and Outer Banks now going to get a little bit of a break if they happen to get this Regieleki scoring through, but still applying the pressure. Psychic Solaire going to go ahead and get popped up here. Catches out the Luca, and the Regieleki going to go ahead and walk in. 21 points. It's going to be enough, and they're going to go ahead and just chuck in the 40, make sure that they can go ahead and break this as quickly as possible. So Outer Banks taking the top one. Alberona said continuing pressure here at bottom. Not that big of a point gap either, so we're going to go ahead and take a peek at where they want to go ahead and move their resources, especially heading into about 3 minutes left in this game.
He calls himself Atrax. I wonder whether this is actually Marv. 999 tends to be the giveaway numerical code on this one. Who knows? Please let us know your actual names. Makes the storytelling a little bit easier, and the story should be pretty simple for here on out, but it's not going to be for Outer Banks yet again. Set up perfectly, but Alberona have other ideas. Here comes Luca now as well. Foul play keeps the Trevenant in enemy territory. Nice Horn Leech continuing to recover well. Got that snipe shot as well. Keeps Alberona at a distance, and this Regirock doesn't really know where to look. Gonna reset that health bar, might allow Alberona the chance to just focus on the team fight instead. Oh, Inteleon's caught in a bad spot, really bad spot, and they find out exactly why. Down they go. Down goes the Buzzwole as well. 2 major damage threats gone for Outer Banks. Alberona with the 180, and Outer Banks ain't going to contest this. 162 to 182. Defensive, special defensive buff in pocket. Perfect timing for a Quasar.
Yeah, right before the final stretch is when you want to secure that down. So Alberona said just getting whatever they can at the moment, getting a couple of the pickoffs that they needed so that they could be in position for this Rayquaza fight as we start heading into this final stretch.
The quiet before the storm. 20 points separates these two teams. The favorites on the back foot, and you don't want your Trevenant to go down immediately. Be careful, Atrax / Marv. That's a USV pop. That is very early. They've got to make this count on the Umbreon. The Wish goes down. There's the healing as well. Oh, big Fairy Singularity catches 2, and it's the 2 damage dealers at that. Nightmare scenario for Outer Banks. Sent to sleep. Will they be waking up?
That is going to be a tough one to ask. You know, a wake-up slap is not in the game at the moment, so unfortunately Outer Banks is just losing out on so many players at the moment, and I think the execution really came from how well Alberona said positioned that Fairy Singularity, but it's not over. Trying to go ahead and grab whatever they can. Oh my god, last second trying to steal it away, but Alberona said going to be able to go ahead and take the Ray out, and now they're going to go ahead and look to score. They definitely need to do so. They do dunk in 56 to go ahead and give them a little bit of separation, but at the moment, trying to keep the team alive, keeping it going, got the shields, and it's just a matter of if they could get the dunks to follow it up as well, as Alberona said.
Wow. Trying
to clean up, and the GG coming out from Outer Banks, just really well placed. Well placement, good leveling, good teamwork coming out from Alberona said in these 2 matches here.
Fantastic teamwork. Krinsky, don't miss. This guy popping off in our season of 2024, and he's got a great squad around him. I think Albanoa, of course, the namesake of the team, I think he had a fantastic game on that Eldoros. Again, showing that despite the nerfs, it's how you play around those nerfs. And play around him he did, but that Gardevoir pick, rightfully given the MVP, Kanashi. Kopi with a huge Fairy Singularity, catching out both the Espeon and the Inteleon. The entire backline of Outer Banks ripped out from underneath them before they even had a chance to say, or even had a chance to say hello, I should say.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where when you see the play again, you see the Azure spy vision really give them some ideas of where they're at. But the second that they throw out the Fairy Singularity, it just held everybody in space, and you are not escaping that gravity. It is just over. So Alberona really just hit him with a reverse Uno card during their own push. So really well played there.
Just 2 more individual game wins, and they can count themselves amongst the top 4 within the top 8 of the main event next week. But the Elite Tour ain't just done yet. No sirree. The EU qualifier number 2 continues with our grand finals. Still to decide a winner between Sucra and Team Egoist in our other semi-final. But once that result comes through, we'll be back with you. We'll be back with you with the grand final, I should say. We'll see you guys after this break.